opening words this morning are taken from the inaugural poem this last week by young and brilliant poet Amanda Gorman's The Hill We Climb. We will rise. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover. And every known nook of our nation and every corner called our country, our people diverse and beautiful, will emerge, battered and beautiful. When the day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light. If only we are brave enough to see it, if only we are brave enough to be it.
My hands are strong enough, they're strong enough, I'm good enough. My hands are strong enough to give love. I know that my hands are strong enough, they're strong enough, I'm good enough. My hands are strong enough to give love. I know that my hands are strong enough, they're strong enough.
Thank you, Nicole. That was wonderful. Good morning and welcome to Minnesota Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Laura Thompson. I serve as the lead minister here. We welcome you this morning, whether you carry joy, despair, curiosity, confusion, whether you are weary or full of boundless energy. We welcome you in all of your identities, straight or gay, progressive or center-leaning, gender affirmed or gender fluid, and all of the nuances in and beyond any of those spectrums. We welcome the religious path that you have chosen, atheist, humanist, Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, earth-centered, and mystic influences and expressions of spirituality ground us all and linger in the spaces between us. We welcome you into this space if you have come in need of inspiration, in need of community, in need of compassion and companionship, in need of concrete help. And we welcome you in all that you bring to share. Your time, your curiosity, your friendship, your knowledge, skills, talents, and generosity. We welcome you here, whether you are with us this morning on Zoom or live on YouTube. We welcome you whether you are with us now or whether you are with us later. Our togetherness transcends the boundaries of place and time. If you're visiting today, we invite you to click on the link in the chat or the comment area in order to get on our email list that we can send you our newsletter and weekly emails to keep you abreast of what is happening here in this community. We welcome you to this shared space. It is a joy to be together today. We'll do the chalice lighting in just a second here. I did want to say that we have a lot of videos today and remind you, if you're here on Zoom with us and you're not seeing them fully, that if you go to the top center of your screen, right next to where it says Zoom meeting, when it doesn't show now because nobody's sharing their screen, but when Richard's sharing those videos, there'll be a view option and you can hit on that and then just go down to like 50% and then you can see the full video. Sometimes that happens if you don't have Zoom maximized on your screen, or maybe you're on an iPad or something. But we do have a lot of videos today. But for now, I'll ask you to join me in the chalice lighting. The words are printed on your screen. Maybe, Andrea, can you read those off and lead those while I reach back to light our chalice here?
Yes, I can.
Thanks.
We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. May the light of truth illuminate our wounds and mistakes, in need of healing and redemption. May its warmth stir our compassion and commitment, and may the brightness of its flame light our path forward in building a better world through love and service.
Amen. Each week, we do set aside a few minutes to lift up the joys and sorrows and concerns that we are carrying. So I'm going to invite folks to do that now. You can, if you use good manners, unmute yourself and share, or you can type it over in the chat, and I'll make sure I mention those things so the folks on YouTube can hear what's going. Folks on YouTube, you can use your chat for that too. Happy birthday to George. Now we should pause for a moment for happy birthday for George. Nicole, did you have something to say about that? Where did she go?
I'm here. Sorry for the delay. Yes. Happy birthday, George. The MVUUF COVID choir put a little something together for you, and we'd like to go ahead and share that now. I think I'm good to go for sharing screen. I'll go ahead and give it a try here. Or actually, let's see.
You have to be unmuted though, or else we won't hear your sound.
Oh, and I had to log off and log back in. So Richard, could you go ahead and make me a co-host once again?
We should be good to go.
Yep, I'm coming to ya.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear George. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, George.
Happy birthday, George.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're not
Thank you.
saying that there are any members that are more beloved than others, except for maybe George. Other joys that and sorrows that we have expressed today. Tom Ellinger writes that Tom McSteen, a recent speaker and friend of him and Polly, suffered a severe stroke 3 days ago. Oh, geez. He's hospitalized in Salt Lake City and where he was visiting his son. So we hold him in our hearts for a recovery that's long and hard and uncertain. Absolutely. Kathy Eager's joy today is that she'll be Zooming with her great friend Elise Longley later. Team HP has a sorrow. Their next door neighbor, Jenny Ward, a mid-40s mom of two, had a heart attack last Sunday. Oh, geez. And has been in stable condition in the hospital since, and thinking of her. Absolutely. Boy. And more wishes, George, for your birthday. I will say, George, Nicole posted that the video of the choir singing happy birthday for you on our Facebook page, and like 90 people saw it, and there were lots of people that hit likes and wished you happy birthday on there. I know you don't have a computer right now, but I wanted to pass along that everybody was thinking about you and wanting to wish you a happy birthday.
Great. Uh, this is Barb Gilliand. I have a joy. I've been participating in the People's Inauguration video series and have only been able to watch the morning sessions, but they're excellent. And between the change in administrations and these videos are giving me lots of hope that together we can make things better.
You can sign up for those videos and those, it's peoplesinauguration.org, I think, or you can just follow them on their Facebook page or on Twitter and get links to, I think they're going through the 31st. It was for 10 days, I think. And that's being head up by Valerie Cower, who's a Sikh activist. And she's brilliant. She's the one, those of you that have been with me for my whole journey here, she's the one that's behind that whole breathe, push metaphor that I love so much. So it's, and they have amazing speakers and poets and storytellers for this 10-day event. Oh, thanks, Andrea. From Barb Berger, George, so wish I could have joined the COVID choir to sing happy birthday to you, but she has technology problems, so she couldn't join, and she hopes that you received a birthday card. Just want to say, has anybody noticed how unbelievably slow the mail is right now? Very slow. I mean, we love them. They do their job, but they're doing it. It's really slow right now. And yeah, so there's some resources over there for Valerie Cower's book. And it's great. Her work is great. So, all right. I think we hold all of these joys and sorrows and concerns, and we hold those things that remain in our hearts. And I'll ask you if you'll all join in our song response.
And we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found our need to be together. We have our hearts to give, our thoughts to receive, and we believe that sharing is an answer.
Thanks, Nicole and Lark. For our centering space this morning, you know, that poem by Amanda Gorman was so effective for everybody really feeling it and amazed by it. If it weren't for Biden and Harris being inaugurated, I would say that it was the highlight of the inauguration. Certainly the words, I think, were the highlight for many of us. But there have been some other really great inaugural poems as well. One thing I didn't know was that only 4 presidents have ever used inaugural poets, and they're all Democrats. It's like Kennedy, Clinton, Obama, and now Biden. So my colleague, Karen Johnston, who is in New Jersey, she put together a mashup of some of these poems using some different ministers' voices reading it. And it's really great. So I wanted to use that for our centering space this morning as we're getting ready to talk about the state of our fellowship. This is kind of like the state of the nation, the state of us, and inspiring. So here you go.
One sun rose on us today, kindled over our shores, peeking over the Smokies, greeting the faces of the Great Lakes, spreading a simple truth across the Great Plains, and charging across the Rockies.
All about us is noise. All about us is noise and bramble, thorn and din, each one of our ancestors on our tongues.
In ceremonies and silence, we say the words, telling the stories, singing the old songs. We like the places they take us. Mostly we do.
We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peaceful, and the norms and notions of what just isn't always justice.
Yet today I call you to my riverside, if you will study bore no more. Come, clad in peace, and I will sing the songs the Creator gave to me when I and the tree and the rock were one.
Someone is trying to make music somewhere, with a pair of wooden spoons on an oil drum, with cello, boombox, harmonica, voice.
All of us as vital as the one light we move through.
We mean to be the people we meant to be, to keep on going where we meant to go. Who are many people coming together, cannot become one, people falling apart.
And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine. But that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge a union with purpose.
Lift up your faces. You have a piercing need for this bright morning dawning for you. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived. But if faced with courage, need not be lived again.
We know what we have done and what we have said, and how we have grown, degree by slow degree, believing ourselves toward all we have tried to become, just and compassionate, equal, able, and free.
Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew, even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division.
One sky toward which we sometimes lift our eyes, tired from work. Some days guessing at the weather of our lives. Some days giving thanks for a love that loves you back.
Praise song for struggle. Praise song for the day. Praise song for every hand-lettered sign, the figuring it out at kitchen tables.
Here, on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out and into your sister's eyes and into your brother's face, your country.
Some live by love thy neighbor as thyself. Others by first do no harm or take no more than you need. What if the mightiest word is love?
We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burden.
We head home through the gloss of rain or weight of snow or the plum blush of dusk, but always home. All of us facing the stars, hope. A new constellation waiting for us to map it, waiting for us to name it together.
If we can truly remember, they will never forget.
For there is always light, if only we are brave enough to see it, if only we are brave enough to be it.
Praise song for walking forward in that light.
And say, simply, very simply, with hope, good morning.
I want to thank my colleague for making that available for folks to use this morning. So this morning I'm engaging in a State of the Fellowship address, and we'll talk about where we are right now and where we might go a little bit. But also it's important to look back at what we've done. And I just want to say, when I put this video together, I was reminded that the work of this congregation has not stalled. The church is not closed. The building is, but the church is absolutely not closed. And you'll see that with these slides. We did a lot of stuff in the last year, just as much as we normally do. So without further ado, these are from, I hope I didn't miss any committees. I think I got them all. Please take a look at some of the things that we've done in the last year, and I hope you enjoy this video.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We can feed our every need. Every need. We can feed our every need. Every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, our world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. A new way. A new way. A new way.
We've been busy. And I'm not just talking about me making that video, which I had a lot of fun doing and probably spent more time than I should have on, but it was wonderful. So I want to thank all the committees for everything that they've been doing to still do work, even this past 10 months. As I said, as I was going through that, I was amazed. I mean, when I got to adult programming, I could make a bingo thing out of it. We had so much programming going on that it's like, oh, I can just do it all in that format. And you know, Family Ministries has been busy. They just delivered a bunch of stuff this weekend, and other committees have been busy as well. And we've all been learning new things, and I'll talk more about all this later. For now, we're also starting a new video series that'll last the next 8 to 10 weeks, I think. This is our Why I Give series. You're all familiar with this. We've done it in the past, invited members of the congregation to talk about why Minnesota Valley is important to them. And so we kick that off today with words from Candace, and these videos were put together by the Stewardship Committee, specifically by Jean Simpson. So thank you to her. I can attest how much and how hard these videos are to edit and make. So thank you for the hard work that you've done in transitioning your work this year as well. So without further ado, here's Candace.
I was asked to speak here a little bit about why I give to MVUUF. And I have to think about that a bit, because I've been a member here a long time, not as long as some, but since my kids were little, early 90s. And since then, I've been involved in a lot of activities here. I've seen weddings here, I've seen funerals, I've seen ordinations, I've sung here, I've been in plays here, I've been on committees here, and the reason I have given is that I've gotten a lot from this place during that time. And now my kids are grown, and I'm watching young families coming up into the fellowship, and I realize that from the founders, Betty Gutman, Al Hyman, and all the rest, the Llewellyn Newstroms and Donna Kopniks of the world, they've modeled what it is to be committed to a place. And part of why I give is that I long to be part of a place. It is one way to be a part of a place. And these are times when having a place is important. It's not just a building, it's not just a church, it's not just a parking lot. It's the space that this congregation, this church, this fellowship, whichever term you use for it, creates a space where we all can be, no matter where we are. And that's what I'm finding this year. And that's valuable, extremely valuable. And one way I can help keep that alive is by giving. That's my reason.
Thank you, Tom. I thought we were showing Candace's video today, but I guess we're showing Tom's. Giving is important to keep this fellowship running. As I said, our programming and staff are working as hard as ever. This has not been a time for slacking for any of us this year. So we appreciate your continued support through pledges and through Sunday giving. And we're going to give you a little time for Sunday giving right now, just a brief 45 seconds of it since we have such a full service today. You can give, donate on our website, or you can use the Give Plus app, or you can also do it the old-fashioned way and send us a check. beloved members, friends, visitors, guests, and curious onlookers, I come before you this morning to deliver an address of the state of our fellowship. As our nation's leaders use this time to take stock of where we are and plot a path forward, so too should we. Of course, the state of who we are, what we have done, and where we plan on going are shaped by the times we live in, and oh, what a year it has been. In the last year, we faced as individuals and as a community the final year of an administration that would not condemn white supremacy, that would not acknowledge the truths found in science, and in its final days would refuse to answer to the voice of the people and threaten the very foundation of our democracy. In the last year, we have faced a global uprising to dismantle the white supremacy culture that has embedded itself into our social systems and our way of life through historical racism, colonialism, and oppression. And it was only 6 months ago that Minneapolis became the epicenter of the voice of pain and rage against racism following the murder of George Floyd. And for 10 months now, we have been living with a global pandemic, the likes of which we have never seen. COVID-19 turned everything upside down: our work life, our home life, leisure activities, travel, and life here at the fellowship. We have endured tremendous losses throughout the last 10 months. The death toll as of yesterday was 414,000 in the United States. 414,000, and I want to put that in perspective. There were 430,000 total combat-related deaths if you add all of the following wars together: World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, Afghanistan, and Iraq. In a couple of weeks, we'll top that number. And those losses that we've experienced with COVID are more than just numbers, and they're more than just, a statistic. There are friends and our family and our acquaintances. Those losses include our members. I doubt that there is not one person here who hasn't known someone who died, or at least known someone close to someone who has died. As if the grief of the pandemic weren't enough, we also endure individually and collectively increased depression, anxiety, and all of the complications and side effects that come therein. It has been a hell of a year. Our nation's political climate, our continued awakening to injustice, and the pandemic have taken a heavy toll on us and on us together as a fellowship, as a religious community. But despite that toll, we have still accomplished so much as a community this year, as I think that video that I made showed. And so we should stop and take a look at what we've done and ask if we are living out our mission and our vision. And I asked Richard to post those over in the chat for you. So let's remind ourselves what our mission and vision statements are. And I ask if you might read them with me. Our mission: we are an inclusive community seeking the light of truth, carrying the fire of commitment to build a better world through love and service. And our vision: we nurture each other. We strive to be courageous in living and sharing our Unitarian Universalist principles and values, spiritual and intellectual growth, justice and joy are cornerstones of this community. So we have decided among ourselves that our mission is to build a better world through love and service. This statement is open-ended in that it has no finish time, there is no destination, no point of arrival. There is only the journey, which calls us to engage in making the world a better place through love and service, day in and day out. We are asked to continue that work as surely as we wake and breathe, as surely as we see and hear and bear witness to the beautiful and broken world around us. And it's our vision that gives us guidance on how to approach this bold work. We nurture one another. Nurturing is an act of encouraging growth in one another, and it is our nourishing and caring for one another that keeps us centered as a community. We nurture one another this week. We did this by calling and checking in with each other. We did this by delivering bags of hope to all of our families and children that have activities and things to help parents relax. We nurtured one another when we share our joys and sorrows, or when we participate in Soul Matters small groups, which, by the way, are in process of setting up a new Soul Matters group that'll meet on a weekday afternoon. So you should look for information coming on that if you're interested, or if you want to know more about what that is in general, ask Andrea, and she'll be happy to tell you all about it. We nurture one another because care of one another is the core, is the foundation of this community. There's nothing else that can happen if we're not grounded in caring for one another and letting ourselves be cared for when we need to be cared for. And acknowledging that we need to be cared for, which sometimes is the first step. We engage our mission by living out our UU principles, it says in our vision, which is not an easy task to do. Our first principle calls us to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Every person. That's hard. But we do this by continually examining and affirming our status as a welcoming congregation to LGBTQ folks. We do this when we support homeless families through Beacon Interfaith Housing's collaborative Families Moving Forward program and in our Rise Against Hunger campaign. We live out all of our principles through our volunteer work in the community, through our conversations with friends and family, our social media presence, in our work and careers, and in our day-to-day interactions with the whole world around us. Now, we are not always perfect in these endeavors, but we are always endeavoring. And we hang on to those cornerstones of our community: spiritual and intellectual growth, justice, and joy. We meet the challenge of growth through our still very much engaged services, through programming, book discussions, small groups, and our ongoing open dialogue and presence with one another. We meet the call of justice by helping homeless families, by continually going deeper with our anti-racism and anti-oppression work, by rising against hunger. And joy, well, there's still that too. It was in our hearts, and you could see it on our faces the first time we gathered together online. We saw it again in everyone's faces the first time we heard our choir in virtual and saw them in virtual form. Joy was there in smiles under the masks at our parking lot fairs in the fall, and we hope to have more in the spring if restrictions are lifted. And it was there on Christmas Eve when I scrolled through the frames of those present to see every single one who had their camera on holding a candle with their lights off and singing Silent Night. So this has been an unprecedented year, heaped with challenges and obstacles and unprecedented events, so much so that we got a little numb to some of it. But we are still doing what we are here to do, and we are still engaged. We are still here on Sunday, and we have the same amount of programming offered right now, if not more. There have been shutdown and stay-at-home orders the last 10 months, but we have endured. In fact, we've done more than endured. We have prevailed. We have prevailed in bringing our services and programming and meetings into a digital format. We all had to learn new skills for that. We have prevailed in building stronger relationships with UU congregations in Mankato, Eau Claire, and Minnetonka as we share services and programs with them. We have prevailed in building stronger relationships with our UU siblings across the country as we staff more readily engage in dialogue and in using resources such as that inaugural poem mashup this morning and outlines for some of the program that we're doing. We share all those resources with our colleagues. And our staff too, we're sharing resources. Some of my writing and some of the hymn recording videos that we've made, specifically the ones that I put lyrics on, those are on the UU ACE worship web, which ministers and music directors from coast to coast tap into daily. So for all I know, my words or a hymn that Nicole and Lark did, they could be being used at some other congregation today. We have prevailed in staff professional development. Both Maria and Nicole are currently engaged in credentialing processes in their respective UU professional roles, and this will be a huge long-time benefit to our congregation, and we get to be there for that. Staff, lay leaders, and fellowship members alike have prevailed in using new digital and online tools and platforms that our work is not only continuing, but it is developing and growing. When the pandemic began, many of us thought we would just have to get through the restrictions of not being together. We could not fathom how we would do it at first, but we moved forward a bit and then a little bit more, and we kept on going. Yes, we have endured the hardships, but we have prevailed in our growth and development. We have prevailed in growing the ways that we do ministry. We have prevailed and we will keep moving forward. So, what lies ahead? In all honesty, we currently don't predict that we'll be able to do any in-person services until probably next fall. And I just want you all to hold that as a realistic expectation. And when we do resume in person, it won't be the same. We will stream the services on YouTube and possibly on Zoom as well, so that you can still interact with us from home in your pajamas, eating your waffles. This gives our members and friends and guests just more ways to engage with us on Sunday. There'll also be likely a hybrid of programming with some of it online and some of it in person, and no doubt some of it will be shared with other congregations because we're not a huge congregation, and some of these other congregations we're working with aren't either, but we can have so much more dynamic conversation when we come together and have a better sized group. Committees may also continue to choose to meet online now that we've all gotten used to being in meetings in our pajama and yoga pants. And though we will always have a much bigger digital and online presence than we did before the pandemic, we will celebrate being together in person with the biggest party we can possibly have. This last year, at times has left me dumbfounded. At times it's left me angry. At times it has left me feeling profoundly sad and lonely. I am, as I am sure many of you are, often exhausted from the mental, emotional, spiritual, and social toll that it has taken. But that is not the whole story or the end of the story. We keep moving forward, inch by inch, centimeter by centimeter, if we need to go smaller, each doing what we can to help, helping one another along the way and reaching out for help or taking rest when we need relief ourselves. We keep moving forward with hope in our hearts and faith in our actions. We keep moving forward not just to endure our circumstances, but to prevail in building a better congregation, a better Minnesota, a better nation, a better world, a better planet, a better future through love and service. May it be so, and amen. I want to close with returning to one of those inaugural poems. These words are from Maya Angelou's 1993 inaugural poem. Lift your eyes upon this breaking day for you. Give birth again to the dream. The horizon leans forward, offering you space to place new steps of change. Here on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out and simply, very simply say with hope, good morning. Will you all please join me in the words for extinguishing our chalice, which should be printed over in the chat. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
We will be one, and so we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other to show to all our new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world that we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
Thank you to the members of the choir that put that hymn together. It's a lovely hymn. I know it's some folks' favorites. I invite you to hang around. If you'd like to hang around for breakout rooms, I'll break you into some smaller groups in just a moment here. And I think I'll leave you in there for, look, I got done. I just want you all to notice that it's 11:21 and the service ended early.